Alright, so we all know how exciting an open world Star Wars game is. We heard the news, everybody's pumped, and I told you guys I wanted to make a follow-up wishlist video with your comments. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to display the comments on the screen, and if I missed yours, look, I'm probably going to make a part 2, because let's be real, it's Star Wars, man. There's so many different ideas, so much awesome stuff to go over, but with that out of the way, let's get right into this thing. So the first thing that I saw a ton of was space travel and combat, and yes, this does lump up the spaceship stuff too. And okay, look, I think this would be an absolute staple for open world Star Wars, and I think this is also why a lot of companies have shied away from doing open world Star Wars, because somebody mentioned it was really funny in the comments section, like, oh yeah, you're gonna need a NASA level computer to make all this stuff. And it's true, man. That's why a lot of companies were scared to do open world Star Wars, because it's a lot for the space travel, the space combat, the planet exploration that comes with that. And we saw with No Man's Sky, I mean, now it has a comeback, but when it first came out, man, like, I mean, we saw how difficult of an endeavor this actually is. And because the movies and the shows and the source material aren't scared of expanding and making the world bigger and more broad, it just makes it even tougher for video games to kind of catch up, because we all know how difficult it is to make a video game, and a good open world one, dude, you're in tough. But that being said, you can't not have a game called Star Wars and not have some type of space travel and space combat. Even if it's just for a couple of missions or something like that, you need to have it in some kind of regard. I don't care how you put it in, but we need space travel and combat. And okay, the second one's related to that. It's customization. I know we're coming off Cyberpunk, not very much customization at all. So people want Star Wars customization, and that's so understandable. Whether it's for your character, for your speeder, for your spaceship is the biggest one I saw. We need some customization, and yes, this puts you more into RPG territory, which isn't really Ubisoft's forte, but they have kind of dabbled with it, especially in Assassin's Creed the past few years. And it doesn't need to be like super in-depth customization like the GTA 5 car customization, for example. Just a few options to personalize our ships and maybe our character, like clothes and things like that. And this is where I would like to see homages and references to maybe the movies and the shows in the clothes. You know what I mean? Maybe you could have Han Solo's outfit or something. You know what I mean? Maybe as a collectible, you can find a Mandalorian helmet. You know what? Like, this is stuff that would be completely awesome, and it would actually add some incentive if you either have to like go and search for it as like a collectible, or maybe you can buy it. Okay. And speaking of the Mandalorian, look, everybody goes gaga for it. Everybody's going crazy for it. It's so huge now. One of the biggest, if not the biggest show on television. A lot of you guys want it to be somewhat Mandalorian related, which was kind of surprising to me, because honestly, in the past, Star Wars is a very Jedi-driven franchise. So we've seen it with the Star Wars saga. We've seen it with Ahsoka. The center of Star Wars has usually been Jedi and Sith. And we're seeing that change now a little bit, especially with things like The Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett, the Cassian Andor series coming out as well. That's shifting a little bit. So a bounty hunter game, I think, would be awesome. And of course, this would be a question like, okay, what would you do with lightsabers in this particular scenario, and the Force and that type of thing? But that was explored in Jedi Fallen Order. I think a bounty hunter game and a Mandalorian type game, I'd be so down for that. I think that would be awesome. But I would also be down with Jedi Sith type stuff, okay? This is why, to me, this is a win-win. Whichever direction they pick here, I think it's a win. But if I had to choose, I would go Mandalorian bounty hunter type story, honestly, if I had the choice. Up next, you guys really highly upvoted this comment, so something that a lot of you guys want. It's YOLO MDR comes in saying, I'm just hoping for capital ship control. I want my Venator. Oh, and here is a really juicy one from Darth Jar Jar. Hey, if you haven't seen that theory, it's a really interesting one. Go check it out. But I'm sure most of you guys know what it is. He says, just imagine a Star Wars Red Dead Redemption 2. We were just talking about that Mandalorian. The first episode of Season 2, how it had that Western vibe. You remember that? Where they had to fight the Crate Dragon, and it was on Tatooine, and the Mando had to kind of go through this Western town. How awesome was that? I loved that episode, and I feel like this is where if you had like even just 5 different planets, but they were all like completely different from one another, I would be so happy. And they have to be really big. So if you have one planet that maybe only a certain area has a super western vibe, I would love that. And you could go around on your speeder and basically, yeah, it could be like Red Dead Redemption 2 Star Wars. And I know it's Ubisoft we're dealing here, so you can't get your expectations crazy high, but Ubisoft is also really good at making their open worlds beautiful and lively. Okay, I'd say that they're better than CD Projekt Red at it from Cyberpunk. Like The Witcher 3 did a good job, but I mean, Ubisoft has a ton of experience here. I think they could hit this particular aspect of it out of the park, and this is something you guys wanted, a bunch of different biomes, right? I think this is where Ubisoft can really make the game shine. Not only in just making it maybe Red Dead 2 for certain aspects, but maybe on another planet you can make it very Mass Effect-like or Dead Space-like. How cool would that be to have those two things coexist in the same game? Another thing you guys are wondering is what time period would this game be in? And that is such an interesting question. Okay, and this is what I want you guys to be answering in this comment section of this video, because I didn't see too many comments on the other video here, but that's the question of the day. What time period do you think would be the best to explore for here? I mean, I saw a lot of people say the original trilogy, in between the original and the sequel trilogy I also saw, and then of course you're doing in between the prequels and the original trilogy, which has been explored a bunch. And I know that just sounds like, whoa, your brain's probably spinning in a bunch of different directions, but Star Wars fans, you guys know what I mean, right? And it could even be set just during the prequels, which I would love to. I mean, there's so many possibilities here, and I want to hear which one you guys think would be the best to visit. Another thing I saw you guys wanting, I know I mentioned the bounty hunter stuff earlier, but you guys want to be able to choose between Jedi and Sith. And I love that idea, especially if they don't go the bounty hunter route. How crazy would it be if you could choose to be a bounty hunter, a Jedi, or a Sith? Dude, I mean, okay, I know this is where you kind of have to temper your expectations a little bit because, first of all, it's Ubisoft, which, by the way, that doesn't mean that Ubisoft sucks. It just means that, like, they're not Rockstar Games. They're not, like, really super incredibly revolutionary every time they drop a new game. So, of course, if you let your expectations run wild, especially with Star Wars, you're going to be disappointed, okay? But at the same time, if you're going to make an open world Star Wars game, don't waste the opportunity. Either make it really awesome or don't make it at all. Because if you're just going to make a mediocre space game that kind of tries but doesn't really go and put in a bunch of effort, then don't call it Star Wars. Then in that case, just go ahead and call your game like Space Adventures, okay? I mean, don't call it Star... And it's the same thing with Harry Potter. Hogwarts Legacy. As soon as the Harry Potter brand was slapped onto that game, boom, expectations rise, okay? And another thing that I also saw was build your own lightsaber. I saw that a few times, and again, this could just go in customization. It doesn't have to be completely crazy, like, oh, you can make your own Kylo Ren type lightsaber, or your own Darth Maul type saber, you know what I mean? But just some light customization. How awesome would it be if you actually had to save up money or something to buy a specific type of lightsaber? Like, you could save up to get Darth Maul's lightsaber and use it in free roam. That would be just incredible, man. And lastly, the thing that I saw so many people want, it's multiplayer. Now, if you ask me personally, I'm really digging single-player games lately. I'm a single-player type guy now. When I was younger, I used to love my multiplayer games, but now I'm really more into single-player experiences, so I would prefer it to be a single-player only experience, especially with Ubisoft, I feel, and The Division, which is massive entertainment. I feel like microtransactions would, again, take over in multiplayer because game companies never learn their lesson. So I'd be worried, especially with the massive success of GTA Online, that Star Wars. Imagine all the money we could make off of kids online with Star Wars. They tried it with Battlefront 2, right? And it's just going to be so enticing to them that they won't learn. And then you get a worse product because of that. But on the other hand, I do think if they were to do it right, do it modestly, and don't make it multiplayer only. If you're going to have a multiplayer mode, make that separate from the single player experience. Then, if that is done right, I think that would be awesome to be able to play with your friends. But if that's the case, I'd be cool with just a co-op mode. If it was only co-op, and you could maybe go and do the single player game in co-op, then you get a really refined, well worked, well done single player experience that you can play with a couple of friends. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents on it. I hope that it's either a single player experience or a co-op experience. But again, maybe they'll prove me wrong and I'll love the multiplayer mode. But yeah, guys, that's going to do it for me on this one. You guys have so many ideas for this. I very well might make a part 2 to it because this is so exciting. I've been waiting for open world Star Wars for my whole life, man. Open world Harry Potter and open world Star Wars. Let's go. I cannot wait for this. I'm pumped, okay? And I know you guys are too, so make sure to like this video, subscribe for more stuff like this. I'll see you in the next one, all right? Peace out.